Devil's always in the details. We can go back to Bologna again. We can't seem to break into this part of Italy. I mean, it was hard enough getting to Venice in the first place. Terni? Okay, no, well, it's longer than I would have liked, but I don't have to go, I mean, I don't have to go too far for that one either, but I don't want to go back there. Oh, this is in the middle of nowhere, though? I think we just have to go back to Bologna. Yeah, and then just see where we go from there again. We are traveling the hell out of these roads in the middle of Italy. Got a PB? Nice. Probably won't submit it. Yeah, that's up to you. If it's like a minute or something, then fair enough. If it's a significant PB, then I would encourage it. I know we've got a little bit of a backlog at the moment, but it's mostly all of Ruby's category extension runs. Which you'd think would be easy to validate, but at the same time they're difficult because they've all got their own like vagaries to them, so yeah, they're less familiar than an any percent run, so you've got to pay a lot more attention to them. Most of the negative reviews just say to play Black Mace, which is the fan-made cover of Half-Life 1. Right. Apparently it looks even better than the Valve recreation and it's free. Well, of course it's free, because it's a fan-made thing, so they wouldn't be able to charge for it, otherwise they would get slammed. Looks better, probably subjective, I don't know. But that's always the thing, it's like when they did the Witcher 3 remastering recently as well. So there was already a lot of fan mods for 4K texture upscaling and things like that. You get a dedicated enough fan base, and they will put in a lot of effort into things. Whether or not it's actually better or looks better, who knows. Especially since that the main difference is that Valve actually have to support what they put out if people are paying for it, so they need to make sure that it will work across a wide range of platforms and stuff like that, whereas Black Mesa don't have to care. A 20-second PB, fair enough, easy to get sub 38, yeah, fair enough. And not lose time in the deep lily pad caves. I don't know enough about the run. I keep meaning to do a BZ run, but you know, it's a lot of effort to learn a new run. I should probably do that this week, because I'm off work this week, so it's the perfect time to do that and dedicate some time to it. While the others are still in hospital, it's actually the perfect time for it, because I don't have additional distractions. But it's also a really bad time for it, because it's harder to get that motivated to do it. So that's why I'm just driving trucks instead. Ooh, crunch. Yeah, we'll see. At least with BZ, because it was already pretty much broken in terms of glitches in the first place. Like, the glitchless run has been the most interesting run anyway. That's probably the one to go with. And I don't think the updates are likely to change it much. It's a bit subjective, yeah. Different engine than source. Right, so I mean if they... yeah. If they're just using a completely different engine anyway, then it's not really a good comparison. And some people will prefer the look and feel of the source engine, and of course Valve are only going to use their own engine. Let's be honest. I mean, if you did like Half-Life in Unreal Engine or something, then I'm sure it would be spectacular. But why would they do that? I have a 1 hour tutorial. That is true. Yes, there is at least a tutorial now. Much appreciated. I've picked up bits and pieces when it comes to just verifying runs anyway. But it's always tricky to actually put that into practice. I've done some of the, did some BZ bingo. So I'm familiar at least with some of the spawns and the locations of things. The worst part of the below zero speedrunning is the oxygen management. Because you don't want to build a tank because it makes you slow, and then you're just skating along at, like, the edge of drowning for half the run. It's very anxiety-inducing. I'm not a fan, but I would be tempted to just make myself an oxygen tank and take the speed hit just to have a bit of extra safety. Mostly straightforward run explaining everything. Yeah, good approach. Yeah, because I remember the original Subnautica, I think, someone was putting together a tutorial on that. Or kind of a tutorial, more of a run-through. But a lot of people will fixate so much on all of the glitches or tricks and stuff and really narrow it down. I mean, I'm guilty of that. I wrote a quick guide on the actual speedrun.com site, and it's a mess. It's just so many words. But then sometimes people like that. People love a lot of minutiae sometimes. That's why whenever people like questioning, oh, so-and-so's done this, should I bother doing such and such? It's like, you should always feel free to do your own take. Like, just because someone else has already done a tutorial or something, feel free to do your own. If you think there's stuff that I've missed, or you want to focus on something different, or we just have a slightly different approach, or just a different presentation style, sometimes that'll just be very helpful for someone. Because they might just kind of gel better with your style. Watching tutorials of Subnautica, pressing arrow menacingly. Yeah. Get to the good part. I mean, for glitched runs in particular, for the original Subnautica, it's always just been a case of, hey, is there a tutorial? Yeah, go watch a Selvna run, because he explains everything. He does it really quickly, but... And then it's one of those things where I kept meaning to do a properly commentated glitchless run, and never really did. Straightforwardness, quick show off, fast explaining the most important things. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and that, I think that'll appeal to most people, like, because if someone's trying to learn to speedrun a game, they're trying to go fast, right? And yeah, some people get into the real nitty-gritty of things, but I would suggest that the majority of speedrunners are more just, tell me what to do and I'll do it. That's why the tutorial is better than some runs on the leaderboard. Well, that's because you know what you're doing, right? We're just going this way to explore this, because we did half the job last time. So now we can finish it off. That's one advantage of going back and forth between the same places multiple times. Unfortunately, it means that it's not going to be scintillating viewing, but... yeah, we at least get to revisit some places that we didn't get a chance to explore properly. The Valve recreation of Half-Life and Black Mesa are in... okay, so Mesa is also in the source credit. Oh, so Black Mesa does actually cost money. So that's interesting. So they must have got some sort of licensing or authorization or something if it's a fan-made thing. Interesting.
Exit right.
Must have some sort of agreement with Valve. Beep, 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 beep. It's like for Deus Ex, there's the Deus Ex Revision fan-made recreation of the game. And it's like a separate library edition on Steam, but I believe it's free, I'm fairly sure. It was just like a free thing. It's essentially a game replacement mod. And it has to be free because, you know, it's a derivative work, essentially. So it's interesting that they're able to charge money for Black Mesa.
Turn right.
I've not really delved into it before.
Keep right.
Yeah, Valve made so much money off Half-Life, they just don't care. Maybe. I don't know, there will definitely be some legal stuff going on in the background, I can guarantee, because you don't just relinquish an IP like that. And we're going all the way back here again. These are familiar roads.
Get ready to turn right. Turn right.
Let's try not to slam headlong into a car this time. Let's say Valve doesn't make games anymore. Well, yeah, Half-Life Alyx. They just don't make the ones that people want them to make. They just don't make Half-Life 3.
Get ready to turn right.
But maybe they just realized that the story wasn't really going anywhere.
Turn right. Get ready to turn left. Turn left.
Portal through Half-Life 3 Valve. No. Yeah.
You have arrived at your destination. Your route.
I mean, it's tricky, right? Because at this point, it's a case of if they did do either of those games, no matter what they did, it would never match up to what people want out of them. So I could understand them just being reticent about doing it at all. We've got hard acts to follow. See, this time I know where to put the trailer straight away. Assuming it's actually in the same place. And not like the next one closer this time. Well, we'll find out. Fairly sure that I can see a marking there, but I think it's just on the wall next to the door. It's not actually the target for delivery. Fairly positive we're going back into this one. Once we straighten up. Yes, there's the marker. Perfect. Yes, some portal advertisement to the Steam Nintendo Switch, yeah. I mean, you know, there are better things to put their time to be honest, I think. I mean, Portal 2 co-op on Switch or something would be pretty cool. Though, targeting the portals with a controller would be miserable. You really want mouse and keyboard for that one. Yeah, so if it helps with optimizing a PB or spawn, yeah. Yeah, always a good idea to ask for help, people. So, we're over 2/3 of the way now. We're kind of 3/4 of the way. It's a weird number to divide by, but gets. Suzara again to Parma. At this point, do we just take one to like Innsbruck or something? Because it'll at least be an interesting drive and it won't be just going on the same stretch of road that we've been doing back and forward so much. We can go back to Prague. See ya, Skillet. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good one. Good luck with the exam. Florence. I mean, we've been down to Florence once already. I mean, I am wanting to contribute to these ones that haven't had delivery progress, so I prefer to keep going in this area. I guess that's acceptable. Valve have their Steam Decks, no Nintendo Switch support for you. Yeah, true.
Come on, there's a job to do.
I know that some of my workmates were getting really excited about the Steam Deck and it becoming available in New Zealand. I don't quite get the hype for it. I'm not quite sure why I should care about it. I haven't really looked into what it is and what it does to fully understand. Because if it's just like a handheld thing for playing otherwise like PC games from Steam Library, most of the games I play that are on Steam would not translate to a handheld device very well, if at all. So it's hard to be particularly excited about something like that. It's like when they've made a ton of games for the Switch, right? Where people have just jumped on it as, hey, it's a hot new platform that everyone's loving, let's make sure our game can go on Switch. Doesn't always make much sense, to be honest. Like Subnautica on the Switch, that I can't help but feel that would be miserable to play. Certainly a pale comparison to playing it on PC. Witcher 3 on Switch. I don't think that would be very fun. I mean, just console in general. Certain games lend themselves well to consoles. RPGs, like an action RPG like that, I'm not so sure. JRPGs, like Final Fantasy and stuff, absolutely. Anything that doesn't require you actually having to aim or do lots of kind of grid-based menuing. If everything can just be in lists and relatively condensed and well compartmentalized, sure, you can make it work, but just in the same way that porting console games to PC doesn't always work very well, porting a PC game to a console also, like, I could see working less.
Exit now.
Steam Deck's a portable computer.
Keep right.
Yeah, it's basically a tablet, isn't it? So I don't know.
Exit right.
Yeah, I struggle to understand why I should be excited about it. Especially given how cheap it is these days to get a, relatively basic but performant enough computer or laptop. Because I think a Steam Deck over here is like $600-700 or something. You can get a cheap laptop for that. And I think it will be more worth it. More versatile, if nothing else. I mean, we got a Switch recently. I picked one up secondhand because I wasn't going to pay full price for it because I didn't think it was worth it. And I mostly got it because we've been playing Animal Crossing, which is kind of just fun and chill. And I've got a couple of Pokemons. And those are games that work really well on a console because they're simple. There's not too much to do. There's a bit of extra menuing in Pokemon sometimes, but it's pretty basic. It's a great emulator, easy to port Nintendo games to it. Yeah, fair. Though I don't think they'd like you doing that very much. I mean, you know what else is easy to port Nintendo games onto? A PC. And you can plug a controller into a PC too. You know. Again, it's not really offering much different. Also, depends on the Nintendo game, because not all of them are all that great anyway. People go nuts about them, but... Can you haul your PC out in the house and onto the train with you? If it's a laptop, yes. That's what I'm saying. You can get a cheap laptop for the same sort of price. On my old laptop, the main thing that I would play when I was on holiday was a Nintendo 64 emulator. So I had Ocarina of Time on that. A Majora's Mask. And had a Game Boy Advance emulator to be able to play Fire Red and Emerald and Crystal. And yeah, bigger screen, full keyboard, and instead of just using it to play games, I could also check emails and browse the net, and also go on Steam and play Steam games too. So, yeah, not quite sure what I should care about the Steam Deck. Backpack, but it's just your computer tower and a few monitors sticking off the side. You know, you can get streaming PC backpacks. For people who are doing like vlogging and stuff, you can get a backpack that has a PC built into it. If you're wanting to play stuff on it rather than just have it for broadcasting, for vlogging, you would have to really have it be powerful enough to have a VR headset built into it. And, I mean, that's also a thing. There is definitely, I can't remember who it was, but one of the VR manufacturers, I'm sure, had a PC backpack that you could then plug the headset into. So you didn't have to worry about the cable stretching or anything like that. Get really hot. Not sure I'd want it long term. But it's a thing. I mean, my mentality generally is that if I'm leaving the house, it's for reasons of not playing games. I'm usually going out for a reason. And if I'm spending a bit of time on the bus or the train or something, I've got mobile games if I really want to play something. Or I'll just browse. Or I'll just listen to music. I don't have to be playing a game at every single waking moment of the day, especially if I'm out going somewhere, because it'll probably be to do something or see someone or stuff like that. So, not something I find a huge demand for. And if I'm going away somewhere on holiday, it's to take a break, and it's probably a better idea, and it'll do me a world of good not to have my usual barrage of games available to me. Yeah, that's why I only had like a stripped down selection of entertainments on my laptop when I was going away places. But I'd rarely actually use them, because I'd usually just be either chatting with family or take the opportunity to read a book for a change. Because if I'm going away, then I won't be staring at my work computer screen all day. So I could actually read a book.
Finally, we are here.
What's computer on my back? GPU and hard drive dies. Well, it'll be SSD, so they shouldn't die, but graphics card certainly wouldn't have a good time. Also, you've got to consider power. So you either have a massive battery pack and an extremely heavy battery case, for that matter. Large batteries are very heavy. Where am I going with this? In between the trailers, okay. So you either have, yeah, high power drain. If you want it to be performant, then it will be high power drain, which means big batteries, which means very heavy. Or you have it basically running on laptop tech, which is low power equivalent, which means it's not as performant. Which means you're not really getting the full benefit out of playing things. Portable computing is always an exercise in compromises. I'm too close to the wall. Ultimately, if you want the best gaming experience, a static platform is always going to be better. Portable is only for low requirements, minor distraction level sort of gameplay. And you will not change my mind on that. That's why, I mean, my phone is probably as powerful as one of their Steam Decks anyway, so I'll just play games on my phone then. Actually, it'd be interesting to see what the specs are. Of course, my phone is also more expensive than a Steam Deck, but it does a lot more other things too. You play games at work, you know, you get hit by a car pretty quickly. Yeah, that's the thing, is if you're going out places, it's best to actually enjoy the world around you, not only for safety's sake, but also for your mental well-being. Touch grass every now and then. Oh, for crying out loud, are you going to send me all the way to Liège now, are you? Milan is almost as bad. And now nothing. Great. Oh, I can go to Florence. Oh, that's backtracking. I'd be driving to Livorno just to come straight back again. I can go back to Parma. That's probably what I'm going to end up doing, because the alternatives are not great. Their generator for jobs for these events really needs work. I have this problem every single time. Tempted to take the Geneva one just because it's something different. I want Florence, not Livorno. But that's a half-an-hour job. I don't know if I feel like that right now. Come on, I just want Florence. Where's the Florence to Parma one gone? Can I have that one back? There, okay. I'll take it. Let's get it out of the way. Computer towers are for fun, laptops are for work. Yes, but if you only have the money to pay for one, then having a laptop that can do some amount of gaming is a good compromise. That's what I used to do for my wife, because she needed a laptop for her studies, but also wanted to be able to play some games. I mean, that's what I did when I was in uni, for that matter, because it was cheaper. I was getting myself a laptop for university anyway, so I paid a little bit extra for one with a bit more capability, because I did not have the money to be able to upgrade my computer sufficiently. So, yeah, it is an exercise in compromise, but it's a compromise that many would be willing to make. But yes, generally speaking, laptops are better for working. That said, you say that, but I would say laptops are subpar for work as well. I have a laptop that was sent to me for working. To make it so that I can actually be productive with it, I also have 2 additional screens. I use an external mouse and an external keyboard. Literally the only advantage with the laptop part of it is, well, there isn't one, really. If I commuted into the office and back and had to take my laptop with me, then sure, that would make sense. But yeah, realistically, it's just a power-restricted platform, which, yeah, for software development, it's not too bad, but I would much prefer that I had a much gruntier CPU a lot of the time. Because sure, a lot of the stuff we do is on the cloud and everything, and we'll do a lot of our builds, development builds on, you know, pipelines, but
Turn left.
you've still got to locally build and test your solution, and having something that is throttled by being a laptop is not ideal.
Turn right.
So even using a laptop for work is still a compromise.
Turn left.
It's not as obvious a one, but it is still a compromise.
Get ready to turn right.
Chromebook. They have one job, run Chrome, they barely do that right. Yeah, and that's largely because of those limitations. Because things like that are processor heavy. Processing and memory heavy. And when you are restricted on your power supply, as you are on a portable device that is trying to eke as much performance out of a battery as it can, it's going to suffer. There's no two ways around that.
Exit now.
That was the biggest difference when I built my wife a gaming PC. After all, she no longer needed the portability of the laptop, so when the laptop started to fail, the hard drive was going on it, then I just built a PC, and it cost less than the laptop would have and was more performant and wasn't power bound. So even though the laptop she had technically a discrete graphics card, it had like a, it would be an 860 or something back in the day, something like that. But it was the laptop version, so it was power restricted. Yeah, it only had like a 120 watt power supply. That's half the wattage that my graphics card needs to operate.
Keep right.
So it's always going to be a compromise. Every laptop you had the hard drive died? Yeah, that's not surprising.
Exit right.
Unless you go full SSD, which obviously costs a lot more and until recently was not realistic as a consideration. Mechanical drives and laptops, they were slower speed anyway to help with their resilience and also lower power drain. So they'd usually be a 5400 RPM, I believe, maximum. So it uses less power to operate, so it has more power to put towards the processor. And it's slightly less resilient, I guess, to like knocks and bumps. But if you have your laptop running and are moving around with it while it is operating, you are risking the longevity of hard drive constantly. They also just get an absolute hammering because of the amount of work that they have to do, because you pretty much only have one hard drive in it. It's not like a PC, like a desktop PC, where you might have an operating system drive and a secondary drive for putting a bunch of stuff. It's one drive that's having to do everything. So it's getting a hammering. So a hard drive, a mechanical hard drive, you're lucky to get 3 to 5 years out of it maximum. And in a laptop situation, probably less. $200 for a terabyte SSD is not that bad. Yeah, they've come down a lot in price. Over the last couple of years, I have completely replaced all mechanical drives in my desktop with SSDs. I no longer have a mechanical drive at all. Because even with the desktop, I had problems with hard drives failing. Admittedly, that was over the period of like 5 years they would usually last, but I had photos get corrupted and stuff. I lost data several times. So yeah, I've just gone full SSD since I'm in a comfortable enough position that I could afford to do so, and also prices have just come down significantly over the last decade. Even just the last few years, really. Does make a huge difference. I no longer have to be selective about which drive that I put which games on for the sake of loading times and stuff. So that's nice. I actually need to replace my operating system drive at some point because it's only a 200 and some odd gig drive and it keeps getting full with just temp files and everything. And it's also the oldest of the drives. So I should probably get a new one and just clone it at some point, but it's a faff. It's effort. I don't like to put effort into It's the funny thing is that you get some people in my profession who will be obsessed about doing stuff constantly with their computer. They'll run Linux because they want to tinker with things. I just want my computer to work. I have to think about stuff constantly for my job. When I finish work, I just want to be able to play some games, watch some stuff. I don't want to have to think about it. Chromebooks don't have hard drives at all, no hard drive or SSD. Surely they have some small local memory. I would be very surprised if they shunt everything into RAM all the time. If they do, then that's horrific. Right? To not have at least a small local system, yeah, I would hate that. Having to operate 100% on like networking, needing a data connection everywhere you go, screw that.
Keep right.
No, I like to be able to boot up and not be connected to the internet and still be able to do things.
Exit right.
Like when I used to commute, I would not even have data turned on my phone most of the time when I was out and about. Because I was mostly using my phone for listening to music or taking pictures. So I didn't care about it being connected to things. These days I usually have it on because I'm also referring it to it for maps. Or I'm expecting updates about things.
Get ready to turn right.
Yeah, I hate the idea of being reliant on a connection all the time. Especially with data charges being so bloody expensive in New Zealand, that doesn't help either. But regardless, do not want. Come on. See, roundabouts are great, except when they're not. If you've got an intersection where a bulk of the traffic is coming from one direction, roundabouts are not good. You want it to be an equal spread. This is where having interchanges that have two roundabouts are better, so you can have one either side. Not everyone all in one. Hey, at least we're going to a place we've not been before. Yep, okay. Oh, it just merges here, okay. So why are you changing lanes? You don't normally change lanes. But now I understand.
At the roundabout, take the first
It's an
exit.
interesting sculpture. That meant to be a car?
Exit now.
I don't know what it's meant to be. So a small storage, like 64 megs small. My phone has more than that. My
Get ready to turn right.
camera has more than that. How stupid.
Turn right.
See, I've never really looked into Chromebooks as a thing before, because I'm not in the market for that sort of device anyway, but now I really don't like the sound of them. If I was to get some sort of portable computing device, it would probably be a Surface. I think they're still good. I know one of my workmates used to rave over his. I don't know if they've continued to be good, or if they've also made bad decisions, but as far as I'm aware, they're still okay.
Get ready to turn right.
But I also don't really care for touchscreen computing. Yeah, it makes sense for a phone,
This.
but for a large screen thing, I'd prefer a laptop. It's not like LED or LCD screens take up that much space anyway. I realized that I needed to stop on the manhole so that I could actually see where you want me to put this. There you go. Okay, and it's just there. That should be easy. But for one purpose work. People at Google think where people work has Wi-Fi. Yeah, probably. That's the assumption, right? Like, it makes sense to an extent. Like, if you work in an office, you don't actually take the Chromebook with you, but you have like a hot desking sort of arrangement where you move around your office a lot. Or like university or something like that. But so it falls down as soon as you're taking it off premises, basically. It's a hell of an assumption to make, that's for sure. I mean, I guess you could tether your phone to it or something. Maybe. $14 out of 15. One more delivery. Can we go somewhere new or different or exciting? If we have to do a long one for this, then okay.